focused on de-escalating patient conflict with the angry patient. I'm sure none of you have ever had an angry patient, but theoretically, if you were to have it, we would manage that. But we're going to talk about today what we do with eMerit. So eMerit is a way to protect and promote your reputation through the world of online reviews. And online reviews are really challenging. I mean, everyone today uses reviews to go ahead and research, investigate, and buy products and services. I mean, healthcare was late to the party, but healthcare is certainly engaged in this party. So what are the benefits? The benefits are clearly to drive new patient volume and new patient revenue. Those who are not defined online are considered to be invisible. And if you're invisible, nobody knows who you are. They don't know how to find you. In contrast, if you have a gazillion positive reviews, first of all, Google ranks you higher because there's a lot of social trust placed in online reviews. And number two, when people start to do the research, when they figure out what they're looking for, they will ultimately find out who they're looking for, which will be you. So online reviews are a way to potentially transform a practice into a high revenue entity. So details matter. There are people who will post reviews who have never seen you, and they're complaint driven. So the people who have seen you might be the unhappy patient. They are the people who will take the time to write a nasty review. And then there are people who just don't like you for whatever reason. It could be a disgruntled employee, a competitor, or an ex-spouse. We've seen all of them. The question is, what can you do? How do you manage it? Is there an easy button to try and address all of these? All right, so let's start with what people love to do. They think if I pay someone for a review, if I give them a gift card, for example, I'll make it a lot easier to be able to get a gazillion reviews. Well, it turns out that the Federal Trade Commission has something to say about it. They don't make it precisely illegal to pay for reviews, but if you do pay for a review, you have to disclose that person received something of value for the review. And it's not just money. We're talking about a gift card, discounted services, or even free services. So let me give you an example of what a non-compliant review would look like if you paid for it, and what a compliant review would look like. Again, if you passed either money or a discount or free services. Non-compliant. Dr. Segal saved my mother's life when he came to the intensive care unit at 2 a.m. Now, I paid the patient, but I haven't disclosed that I paid the patient anything. So this would be compliant if we really wanted to follow the law and not create any problems with the Federal Trade Commission. Dr. Segal saved my mother's life when he came to the ICU at 2 a.m. He also gave me a $25 gift card to write the review. Okay, now if someone were to write that, it would devalue the review. It would be entirely valueless. So my point is, it's not a good idea to pay or give discounts or anything of consideration for reviews. I don't think you'll get any more reviews. You think you will, but there are simpler ways to capture reviews, particularly at the point of service, where you don't have to pay for them. You don't have to worry about this issue with the Federal Trade Commission. All right, HIPAA. HIPAA is the law from 1996. It's a federal law and creates challenges. And we all work with vendors, but if you have protected health information and you're working with a third-party vendor, they need to have signed a HIPAA Business Associate Agreement. A HIPAA Business Associate Agreement. Now, many entities who are aware of what HIPAA is and know how to spell it properly, and this is the proper spelling, HIPAA, not HIPPA, they will gladly sign a HIPAA Business Associate Agreement, and you need that to be compliant. And why is it important right now? Because random HIPAA audits are here. The Office of Inspector General for Health and Human Services are just sending notices out, not to everyone, but to select individuals saying, we want to see how compliant you are. So if you're working with a third-party vendor, ideally they should understand what HIPAA is and how to treat your protected health information safely. And then you want to make sure that they have a HIPAA Business Associate Agreement that you can pull out of the file cabinet if indeed Department of Health and Human Services ever shows up. So what is protected health information? How detailed is it? What does it mean? It's really not much. It's just someone if you acknowledge that someone is a patient in your practice, that is a disclosure of protected health information. It could be an email address. It could even be a mobile phone number. The bar is set so low for what is considered to be protected health information, you should just imagine that almost anything you collect about a patient is considered protected health information. So the bottom line is, if you share or disclose any of this protected health information with a third party, you either need to make sure they're a HIPAA business associate for you with a signed agreement, or you have to have the patient's written and signed authorization that you can disclose to a third party. Written and signed authorization that you can disclose to a third party. So what does a HIPAA authorization look like? You do not need to memorize this or even take notes on this. My larger point is that a HIPAA authorization is not a trivial document. It's more than just one line that says, I will disclose this to the vendor. It's really a fairly detailed document. And the point is that it's a lot easier to work with a vendor that will understand what HIPAA is and be a business associate than to get a signed authorization that is compliant with every patient. If you get HIPAA wrong, what happens? The Department of Health and Human Services can come marching. They can do many things. They could fine you. They can stick your name up on what they call, or what people have called, the wall of shame. And more interestingly, they can create a plan for you going forward with monitoring. The thing that's really challenging is that if you are on the wall of shame, one of the top Google search results for you going forward will be that you're on the wall of shame. So nobody wants to be on the wall of shame, so be cognizant of focusing on HIPAA as you're capturing reviews. What about using a mobile phone to capture reviews? I mean, it's so easy just to text a link to a patient, click on it, have it open the Google review page, and have the patient stick in 5 stars and type in, how great you are. Well, there's a pesky little line. By the way, don't kill the messenger here. I'm here to keep you safe, not to be the recipient of your anger related to bad news. TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. It was put into place in 1991. At that time, people were sitting around the dinner table, and all sorts of telemarketing calls were coming through while people were eating. Now, it was coming through on a landline. So what's interesting is that as of today, nobody eats dinner together at 6 o'clock, and nobody has a landline. But the TCPA still applies to mobile phones, it applies to text messaging. And the goal initially was to prevent people calling you and interrupting your dinner, and also avoiding sending junk faxes to your fax machine when you actually had one. TCPA says that if any business sends an automated text through an automated dialer, you need to comply. If you don't get TCPA right, it's $500 to $1,500 per text that you sent out. So if there's a marketing message that you sent out as part of a campaign and it doesn't comport with and comply with TCPA, you can imagine how that number starts to explode pretty rapidly. Imagine here in this example, you've got 1,000 patients that you've sent a telemarketing campaign by text message to their smartphones. 1,000 times 500 is $500,000, and sometimes the penalties can be as high as $1,500 per text. This is a ginormous number. There is no cap on the amount of damages. In fact, there was a med spa in Florida who there was a complaint filed by an attorney stating that they had violated TCPA and they want to be compensated for it. Whether this practice will be able to survive the onslaught of this lawsuit, I have no idea. But the numbers are so high, and because the numbers are so high, this is like manna from heaven to a plaintiff attorney. So be careful about the law, TCPA, know how to ask the right questions of a vendor who may be sending out marketing text messages to your patients. All right, so one of the things that is interesting and important is, does texting always create a problem with a practice if the patient hasn't signed off on? The answer is maybe. It depends. It's a very lawyerly answer. If you're just sending out information to the patient, for example, a refill of a prescription, or you have an appointment on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m., that is considered informational. If you're sending marketing information saying we're having a sale on Botox for the next week, that's marketing information. So this is the fork in the road. Is it informational or is it marketing? And by the way, if it's a combination of information and marketing, it's a marketing message as per the TCPA. All right, so an informational text doesn't benefit you and your practice, it only benefits the patient. And as we talked about, it says it's a reminder for the patient when they have an appointment on the calendar, prescription refill. You kind of know when you see it. The patient is the primary beneficiary of this. In terms of marketing, the question is, who benefits? Do you benefit from it? Does the patient benefit, or both? If the patient solely benefits from it, it's informational, that's okay. The threshold is a lot lower for being able to comply with TCPA. If it's a marketing message, you're having a sale on Botox, then that's a marketing message, and the threshold is much higher. You have to check a lot more boxes.